I guess stratas. So some stratas, when I first got into the business and for a big chunk of years, so I was licensed in '05, inspectors could go everywhere. Then sort of several years later, Stratas started saying, no, we don't give access to certain areas. And then I'm, of course, explaining to my clients, well, they don't want the inspector for liability reasons, they're saying, into the mechanical, or they don't want them up on the roof. And so I'm saying to my buyers, I'm like, look, we're going to have to rely on the documentation for that sort of stuff, right? Trying to, obviously put them at ease, which is true anyhow. Any reason why stratas are doing that? Is it really a liability thing? They think you're going to fall down, but I'm sure you're insured and all that sort of stuff. Like,
no, again, good question, because I always kind of laugh at that. Like,
yeah,
we
yeah.
carry so much insurance, we could rebuild the building if something happened. I mean, like you guys are, your insurance fees are just like, whoa. No, a lot of the times it's somebody doesn't have time to give you the keys, or they make you go get the keys, or
No.
or they've been misinformed. I don't know how many times I've gone into a mechanical room and done a gas leak test and found a gas leak, or a water pipe that's leaking, or a pump that's burning. They should be allowing inspectors to do these things, but don't touch inspectors, please. It's not a good thing, because you're ruining it for everybody.
Right.
Roof inspections, another thing. I mean, in my building, I do annual roof inspections for the building, free. I mean, because I live here. But
just charge, you bill yourself out.
Yeah.
Get a good home inspector is going to pick out these things and be able to tell you something's wrong. And I tell my clients, I mean, you guys have heard me tell the clients, share your report with the strata.
Yeah.
Right? So
have you ever been asked to do a consult after
yes.
you've done an inspection route? Okay.
Yes, lots of times, actually. It's been really great. Even in one of the luxury buildings downtown, I've come in and done a walkthrough with the entire council and the property manager, and it worked out really well. It was quite great, and I did that free of charge. It was just something I wanted everyone to be aware of. These are the things to anticipate what's going to happen in the building on a first-hand basis, right? Because depreciation reports, they're statistical averages based across the country. So Vancouver, as we know, we're not just in a COVID bubble, we're in a bubble. So we don't.
And there definitely is. Yeah, exactly. Weather patterns we're unsure of. And also we know, parkade membranes, those type of things, which is a big topic of conversation. Lately, I just had a client, actually, funny enough, ask me, well, how do you know if a parkade membrane needs to be redone? And I've gone through one personally, and that's another big expense that people don't really know about, is the parkade membrane.
Yeah.
And that's a big one that people don't know about. So is there sort of telltale signs that, you get concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, one for sure, age. I mean, if the membrane's, 30 plus years old, you're getting exposed rebar that's corroded. You got concrete falling out of place, so delaminating concrete, so spalling and all sorts of things like that. Big trees over top of that membrane is for sure one. But you see it in newer buildings too, where you're getting spalled concrete, you're getting seepage cracks. Water cannot pass through concrete because it's going to affect the embedded steel within the concrete. So, it's funny. The old buildings, sometimes those membranes are great. They just seem to, it's like the old Maytag repairman. He's lonely, right? He just keeps ticking. He just keeps going. So, and then
we like those buildings.
Yeah, we like those buildings. They're good buildings. They're well built. They're very well built.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't on a time crunch like most of the developers today. So.
Yes. Agreed.
When's the best time? Let's just take COVID out of it. When's the best time for the buyer to show up? And do they get, because I sometimes have buyers that want to be there for the whole thing, which I feel is, they're like, the inspector doesn't want to be, you don't want to be bothered, right? You got a job to do.
Yeah.
So would they, if they showed up later, would they get the sort of full walk around of the building and where you can point things out so they can see it. I think that's what they're mostly concerned about. Like looking at a report and be like, well, can I see that with my eyes kind of thing. Right?
Yeah. I like to embed a ton of photos. I mean, Brittany laughs at me sometimes because my photos, there's so many photos. Most of them are of me, but I do put some deficiencies in too.
Bonus photos, right?
Bonus photos. It's really important. I have a rule in our company, the inspectors, to every single comment should have a photo. So it doesn't matter what the comment is, it should have a photo associated with that comment so they understand. Then when I go through in the summation with the client at the end, I will go through every single photo. And if we need to, we'll walk around and go do those areas as well. So I usually encourage the buyer to show up for just about 30 minutes before the inspector is finished. That way they have time to look around, maybe take some measurements, and then we can get into the summary of the report and sit down together and talk. And usually, a martini or two is good to throw in there, make things easy. I always bring a shaker with me. So
this is why you're a fan favorite.
Right. Nice.
I have to say, I did go back. I think I messaged you about a couple weeks back and I said, hey, did you check XYZ of this window? My client can't open it. And we look back at the photos and we back to the report. And we went, yeah, everything was working fine. So yeah, I agree with you.
No,
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
I like to even put things positive in the report too. Like if something is done right, like we all know insurance for condos is becoming kind of crazy. So I like to put pictures that somebody's upgraded all their hoses to stainless steel braided. It will help them with their insurance. I always put photos using the infrared camera of all the appliances and heating system or cooling system working to basically help the buyer's agent. If there is a problem, they can at least go back to the selling agent and say, listen, it was working at the time of the inspection. Here's a photo of it working. Can we get this fixed or replaced? So just trying to work together. I think it's important for all of us to work together and not against each other. I mean, an inspector, their relationship with the agent is very important. And I think most of the agents that I work with are very respectful to what I'm doing to even help them with potential issues in the house.
Yeah.
Yep. I definitely agree with that.
So I just have one more question for you. Do people call you and kind of interview you? I'm curious what are buyers most concerned about, or saying like what kind of qualifications they're looking for? I know for me, obviously, I'm like, okay, how long have you been doing this? What kind of construction background do you have? Like those would be interesting things to me. But what kind of conversations do you have if buyers are they're calling you and they're calling Bill and Bob and whoever else?
Yeah, they do. I do get interviewed sometimes about, okay, what are my qualifications? I haven't lost one yet. They've always gone through. I mean, my building background's extensive. I do have journeyman papers. I'm a journeyman carpenter by trade. I built from the ground up, forms, roof, finishing, you name it. I've done it in a house. So I think it makes people feel good when your inspector actually knows every single aspect of that project, rather than somebody that just took an online course. I mean,
yeah, honestly, that's really big for me of why I started using you. Was aside from me being scared when you first started in the business that my inspection was going to fail. When you walk through the door of my listings, I'm like, oh, great. It's Shawn. But, and then I was like, I want him. So that was a really big aspect for me, because you knew how to explain every aspect of each property and explain it in detail so people understood it. That's the biggest thing.
It is. I mean, let's face it, when we hear the term liquid applied membrane from the engineers, it's paint.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't they just call it paint?
Yeah. They can't charge as much,
maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're definitely on the same page there.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, you do get interviewed quite a bit, and why not? It's a big purchase.